I'm going to demonstrate how to change brake pads. The tools required are disposable mechanic gloves to protect your hands and keep them clean, a jack or jack stand, a lug wrench, a C-clamp, a wrench, a turkey braster for drawing out brake fluid, the new brake pads, and a can of brake fluid. First step is to loosen the lug nuts on the wheel. And jack up the car and place the jack stand under the car's frame. Lower the jack so its weight rests on the jack stand. Fully remove the lug nuts and remove the wheel. You now have access to the brake assembly and can safely reach under the car. The second step is to find the two slider bolts that hold the caliper in place. It's generally only necessary to remove the lower bolt. It can be long, but once it's fully loosened, it will slide out easily. Third step is, with the bottom bolt removed, the caliper pivots up. The rubber hose, which is the hydraulic line, will flex to allow this, so do not disconnect any hydraulic lines. If you think you have to disconnect the hydraulic line, you're doing something wrong. Reassemble the brakes and seek professional help. At this point, it is very easy to inspect the thickness of the brake pads to confirm that they need to be changed. Most brake pads have metal wear indicators, which are small metal tabs that squeak when they contact the roads. Even if these are not yet touching, the pads have worn out. Friction material is 1/8 of an inch thick or less than 80 points. The brake pads are now exposed and the retaining clips hold them loosely in place. Simply slide the old brake pads out as shown. New pads almost come with new clips, which allow the brake pads to slide back and forth easily. Use the new ones and chuck the old ones. There are no retaining screws for the clips. They just snap in place. They're usually left-handed and right-handed clips, so change one at a time, making sure that they match up exactly. The new pads slide into place as easily as the old ones did when they came out, and sometimes the new clips will be tightened. The ears of the new pads should slot nicely into place on the grease that you have applied. Do-it-yourselfers often use a C-clamp to retract the piston or pistons. In this case, you simply lever the piston back using a 2x4 and a piece of plywood. By doing this, the new fluid in the pistons is being pushed back into the master cylinder reservoir through tiny passages, so the pistons move slowly. If you pushed in one by itself, the other would pop out. You don't want that. Fortunately, most cars have just one piston per caliper, which makes things far more simple. Either way, steady pressure and patience are key here. Throughout, take the utmost care to ensure you don't nick or tear the rubber boot and still be in circles throughout the pistons. When you push the pistons back, the brake fluid level slowly rises. Open the master cylinder reservoir and check it off. This is more of a concern when you work on a second brake because the combined fluid volume of two calipers would cause the brake fluid to overflow. With the pistons retracted, the caliper should slip over the pads with little effort. Sometimes the fit is tight and the caliper will slide on the newly installed brake pads. If the pistons catch on the brake pads, you might need to check that you retracted the piston fluid. Reinstall and retighten the slider bolt, straighten the car's wheels, remount the tire, and tighten the lug nuts. Repeat all these steps for the other side of the front brakes. Remember that the brake fluid will be higher in the reservoir now that the new brake pads are installed on one side. So keep your eye on the fluid levels as you retract the piston on the other side. The fluid will only rise further the second time around. You don't want it to overflow since the brake fluid is highly corrosive. If it looks like the fluid will overflow, suck something out of the turkey baster. If the level is below the max, when both sides are done, add fresh fluid to top things off for long. That is how you change brake pads.